I want to share with you a story that happened a few years ago today on Tisha B'Av. My daughter, she was 2 at the time, and she comes running to me and she says, Daddy, Daddy, she's bawling, tears streaming down her face. It broke. It broke. And I'm thinking, wow, here's a 2-year-old Jewish girl who's literally connecting to that, to the Churban, to the destruction, to the temple being destroyed. She's feeling it. She's connected. So holy, so pure, so precious. Am I connected? Oh my goodness. Wow. And she lifts up her headband that was broken in half. She says, it broke. It broke. She was crying because her headband had broke. And for her, it was the worst thing in the world. It was utter chaos and destruction. It was terrible. And I was thinking, the temple, the place that was the ultimate connection, the place not just for the Jewish people, the place for all of humanity to connect, to have clarity. We live in a world that there's so much ambiguity, there's so much disinformation and misinformation and fallacies and falsehood. There's a tremendous lack of clarity. There's moral chaos, societal upheaval, confusion. What the Beis Hamikdash, what the temple stood for, was a singular place, a makom, a singular place of clarity, a singular place of connection, where all people from all walks of life can connect, can live with conviction, with purpose, with meaning, with value. And that was something that was destroyed. It was lost. And the Jewish people were sent into an exile that we've been for the last few thousand years. And the Jewish people have been oppressed, they've been prosecuted, persecuted. That's been not the full story, but part of the story of who we are. But there's a greater part of our story. And that's not the persecution, it's not the trials, it's not the tribulation, it's not the hardships, it's not even the exile. The hallmark of the Jewish story is that we're alive today, is that we're around today, is that it's no longer called the news, it's called the Jews, right? Think about how Israel, a place that's, I don't know, what the size of, they say the size of Rhode Island, and it gets all the attention, where you have, I don't know, 10 million people there, and you have surrounding Arabic countries that number in the tens of hundreds and hundreds of millions. But they want this place. They want to annihilate the Jewish people. You have marches in America and college campuses and anti-Semitism on the rise, and it's an incredible thing. It's no longer the news, it's the Jews. Mark Twain famously, it's famous if you've heard it, it's not famous if you haven't heard it, but Mark Twain wrote an essay called Concerning the Jews, published in Harper's Monthly in September of 1899. And in it he writes, the Egyptian, the Babylonian, and the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burnt out, and they sit in twilight now, or have vanished. The Jews saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? What is the secret of our immortality? We call it, in Hebrew, nitzchias. the eternity. Netzach Yisrael lo yishakeret. There's an eternal aspect of the Jewish people. And my friends, I want to share with you something. Because the story of the Jewish people is much bigger than all of the trials and persecutions and the darkness of exile. It's so much bigger than that. It's so much deeper than that. It's so much lighter and brighter than that. What's the secret to our immortality? What is the secret sauce to the Jewish people? The Talmud teaches us that the word for falsehood in Hebrew is sheker. The letters of sheker, shin, kuf, and resh, all are bunched together in the Hebrew aleph beis. Where are they bunched together? At the very end of the aleph beis, right? Aleph beis gimel dal hey vav zayin ches tes yukav lam mem nun. I might have skipped one. Samachayin perit tzadi kuf resh shin and tough and stuff. Sheker is all the way bunched at the end, and they're all together. And if you've ever seen the word sheker, it's spelled shin kuf resh. A kuf has a long tail, has a long foot. And that word is very shaky because it only stands on one foot. And anytime something stands on one foot, unless you're a flamingo, it's shaky. It falls. It's unstable. And that Hebrew word portrays, embodies falsehood. Falsehood ultimately falls because it's unstable. It only stands on one foot. In contrast, what's the opposite of sheker? The opposite of falsehood and fallacy? It's, of course, truth, or what we call emes. The word emes in Hebrew is contained of three letters: aleph, which is the very first letter of the Hebrew aleph beis, a mem, which is the middle letter in the Hebrew aleph beis, and a taf, which is the very last letter of the aleph beis. And therefore, it's structurally stable, not only because it's comprised of letters in the beginning, in the middle, and the end of the aleph beis, but because the baseline of each of those letters stands firm on its feet. There's no shaky kuf, there's no shaky one foot. It stands firm. Because that is the embodiment of emes. That is the embodiment of truth. It stands, it lasts, it's enduring. The secret of the Jewish immortality lies in our unique ability to connect, to appreciate, to tap into, and to zone in and focus on connecting to the truth. Zohar, Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in his famous work, the Zohar, he teaches that the Jewish people, God, and the Torah, Chad, who are one. That's what he says. They're one. We're inextricably bound. God is the ultimate truth, the creator of the universe. The Torah is the guidebook. It's called Torah's Emes, the book of truth. And as such, the Jewish people are the people of truth. And it's our job in a vast world that's filled with so much chaos and confusion and darkness, that's flooded with immorality, that's flooded with promiscuity, that's flooded with negativity, that's flooded with falsehood. Our job is to be the moral compass. Our job is to stand the ground of truth. Our job is to do what we know is true, is to live with integrity, is to live with conviction. The great Noah, who survived the great flood in a world that was dark and filled with people would steal things. They would rob items from one another. Well, you have, I don't care, I'll take it, it's mine. They were stooped so low, the animals were impacted, and therefore the animals also had to have been destroyed. The world needed a facelift, and Hashem, God, brought a Mabul and decided to restart the world. Noah, on the Teva, him and his nuclear family were a people that stood for truth. They were moral. They heeded the word of God. They weren't going to accept what the world, what society was teaching them as this is the value system to live by. Because if that was the case, then they should also live in the same live with the same negativity, with the same lures and whims, and go along with the flow. But the ability to go against the flow, the ability to stand up, to stay afloat, like Noah did it literally on his ark, to stay afloat, that requires a certain vision of truth, a certain vision, a certain conviction of living with knowing that I'm going to do the right thing. And my friends, this is the secret to the immortality of the Jewish people, is because we are deeply connected to truth, to what we're supposed to be doing, to who we are, to what we are. And I want to share with you, a few weeks ago, there was an article that was released. There was an article that was released from, this was from the United Nations Human Rights Council. And on June 30th, they released a 39-page report written by Francesca Albanese. She's a notorious anti-Semite. She's the special reporter on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territory. And the completely ridiculous and anti-Semitic report describes Israel's occupation of Palestinian land as settler colonialism, apartheid, and of course, their favorite word, even as genocide. The report argues that big companies and corporations all over the world should be held responsible under international law. Why? Since they are in some way helping and making money from Israel's occupation. Immediately, a day or two later, it was on July 1st, the UN, the United States mission to the United Nations, released a statement which concluded, the United States reiterates our request that the Secretary General directly condemn Ms. Albanese's activities and call for her removal as special reporter. The lack of such action to date has enabled Ms. Albanese to pursue her campaign of economic warfare targeting entities across the world. And as Jews, we tip our hats to the UN for making such a statement and doing it right away. But if I could humbly add my own personal statement to Ms. Albanese, and yes, for immediate release as well. And I wrote this down. You can claim we are genocidal, you can claim we are occupational, you can claim whatever additional misinformation the forces of evil have claimed about the Jewish people for thousands of years since our inception. But, and I dare say, we recognize that you are a mere con artist, a conspiracy theorist. You and so many like you have done tremendous wrongs in the face or in the name of human rights. I repeat that. You and so many like you have done tremendous wrongs in the name of human rights. Rest assured, though, that the only thing you evoke from us is more recognition of truth, more goodness, more love, more light in the face of blatant evil and falsehood. Thank you. On June 12th, just a couple weeks ago, on June 12th, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the Western Wall in Jerusalem, and he placed a note inside the stone. And the note said, it read in Hebrew, Am kilavi yakum uch'ari yisnasa. To translate, the nation shall rise like a lion and lift itself like a lion. At the time, on June 12th, the public was completely unaware of what was about to transpire within the next couple hours, because the very next day, on June 13th, the Israeli military campaign against Iran began. What was it called? Operation Rising Lion. I read you the Hebrew note that Benjamin Netanyahu placed in the Western Wall. Am Kalavi Yakum, like a rising lion. And that was the name of the mission a day later, Operation Rising Lion. The source for these words, the source for Operation Rising Lion was the Israeli government, but with the ultimate source of where does that come from? Where do those words come that he wrote on the note? Am Kalavi Yakum, the rising lion. Where does that come from? It comes from the Torah. The Torah in Parshas Balak, which we read a few weeks ago, it's amidst the story where Balak, the king of Moab, hired the Gentile prophet Bilam to curse the Jewish people. And by way of divine intervention and hashgacha, instead of cursing the Jewish people, out from the mouth of Bilam, the prophet, came blessings for the Jewish people. One of those blessings, in chapter 23, verse 24, was Am kilavi yakum u'cha'arius nasa. The Jewish people are like a rising lion. They rise like a lion. And with these words, Bilam foretold that the Jewish people would begin its conquest in the land of Israel. And the Orach Chaim explains that usually when armies fight, they naturally weaken over time because that's just how humanity works. That's how physics works. Over time, we grow weaker and weaker. But not so the Jewish people. Over time, they become stronger. Over time, like a rising lion, they lift themselves up and they become from like a young lion to a mature lion, and they rise in strength. In Hebrew, he says, Holchem u'miskabrim, they go and they develop in strength. They become stronger and stronger. As the fight goes on, as the night goes on, as the exile goes on, the Jewish people become stronger and stronger. Because guess what, my friends? The deeper we are into exile, and the more rich and dark the falsehood of the world is, the more we strive and the more we need to fight to have that conviction, to be that beacon of light, to stand up for the truth. The Jewish people are called Yehudim, named after the tribe Yehuda. Yehuda, the tribe, every tribe had some type of symbolism. The symbolism of Yehuda, the Shevet, the tribe of Yehuda, was none other than a lion. As Yehudim, as Jews, our job inherently is to rise like a lion. So yes, it was the name of the IDF mission just a couple weeks ago, Operation Rising Lion, but they didn't make it up. The Torah, God made it up. It's the job of every single one of us, Operation Rising Lion, to rise up to truth, to strive for truth, to seek for truth. In the first halacha that Rav Yosef Cairo codifies in the book of Jewish law, Shulchan Aruch, in the Code of Jewish Law, the very first words is Yiskaber Kari, be strong, get up like a lion, rise like a lion. To serve your Creator, Sheyehu Mehorer HaShachar, that you should awake in the morning. Some people, they get awakened by the morning. But a Jew wakens the morning. A Jew stands for the truth. A Jew, when he wakes up, a lion sleeps many hours a day. We're not connecting to the notion of sleeping many hours a day, but we're connecting to the fact that when a lion gets up, it gets up with strength. It rises. The Taz, the well-known commentary, Rav David Halevi Segal, on his commentary of Shulchan Aruch, wonders why a lion? Why a lion? My friends, a lion is strong, but it's not the strongest animal. The African bush elephant is a lot stronger. The lion is fast, but it's certainly not the fastest. The cheetah is faster. The falcon is way faster. A lion is smart, but certainly not the smartest. A chimpanzee, we know, is smarter. So why a lion? Why like a lion? Why we rise like a lion? Says the Taz, says Rav David Halevi Segal. Because, and I'm going to read you the Hebrew, because it's beautiful. Kiteva ha'ari asher ein lo yira mishum bria. Because the nature of a lion is that it fears no other creature. And so too we are meant to tap into this fearless mentality and not to fear the evil inclination. Our job on this world is to be like a lion. A lion is not the fastest, it's not the strongest, it's not the smartest, but it's the most fearless. To be fearless in the face of a world where there's so much ambiguity and confusion, and in a world where there's so much sheker and falsehood and misinformation and disinformation. Our job is to rise like a lion and to live, to be fearless up against that, is not to back away, but to stand up, to live with rigor, to live with hope, to live with passion, to be a beacon of light, to do the right thing, to always strive to do the right thing. The Beis Hamikdash, the temple, stood for that. It was where the whole world was able to see that moral clarity. But it was destroyed, it was lost. But it wasn't forgotten. It was just hidden. And the job of the Jewish people is to hold that torch. And yes, we hope and pray very soon that the temple will be rebuilt and that there will be this general human awareness of what's truth and what's not, where you won't have media outlets making things up for the sake of agendas and political ideals and campaigns, where you won't have deep fake videos of Marco Rubio saying things they've never said, right? We live in a world where today there's so much that's misconstrued, and it's hard to differentiate between what's real and what's fake, between what's really fake. It's hard to know. But the job of a Jew is to connect deep down to the soul within, to the holiness that's contained inside every single one of us. Because deep down, we all know. Deep down, we have that conviction. The truth is inside of us, like we said from the Zohar. God, the Jewish people, and the Torah are all one. We have it inside of us, whether we're conscious of it or not. Our job is to be like a lion. Operation Rising Lion is not limited to an IDF mission carried out in June of 2025. Operation Rising Lion is the calling statement for every single Jew throughout the entire history of the Jewish people. And it's this rising like a lion, it's this standing up for the truth that ultimately is the secret to our immortality. May we merit to see the coming of Mashiach. May we merit to see the building of Mashiach, the building of the Beis Hamikdash, of the temple, speedily in our days. And if I could just end with this, that building, the building is something we don't have to wait for. The actual renovations, it's something that we can do right now. When we rise like a lion, when we live with truth, when we live with conviction, when we live with moral clarity, when we do kindness, when we give charity, when we find time to pray, when we work on our relationships, when we do these things, we're building the temple one brick and one stone at a time. May we be privileged to see that structure arise in our days. Wishing you a meaningful rest of your day and all the best. Thank you.